On March 14th, 2019, a state investigator opened an evidence bag and pulled out a small dash camera. It had been recovered 8 months earlier from an abandoned Ford sedan found on the shoulder of Route 9. Engine off. Doors locked. Keys still in the ignition. The camera's memory card held a single file, 17 minutes long. The footage shows a routine traffic stop. It's 2:24 in the morning. Patrol lights wash over the sedan. An officer steps out, walks to the driver's window. He's polite, professional, calm. He asks for license and registration. He even jokes about the cold. At 2:41 a.m., the recording stops. The driver of that sedan, a 31-year-old sales rep named Michael Crane, was never seen again. And for 8 months, nobody connected that camera to anything. Because what the investigation had missed was sitting in plain sight the entire time. This is case file number 1. The night shift. Millbrook is the kind of town that doesn't make the news. Population just under 8,000. 1 main street, 1 diner, 1 high school, and 1 highway. Route 9 cuts straight through Millbrook like a scar. 30 miles of 2-lane blacktop connecting the interstate to the coal towns up north. During the day, it's commuters and farm trucks. After midnight, it's something else. After midnight, Route 9 belongs to whoever is awake. Long-haul truckers. Kids driving home from late shifts. People who'd rather not say where they're coming from. And 1 police officer. His name was Dale Mercer, 41 years old. 14 years on the Millbrook police force. If you'd asked anyone in town about Officer Mercer, you'd have heard the same words over and over. Reliable, quiet, helpful. He coached Little League in the summers. He shoveled his neighbor's driveway after storms. At the station, he was the guy who remembered birthdays. And he had one habit everyone knew about and nobody questioned. Dale Mercer volunteered for every overnight shift. For almost 9 years, he worked 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., 5 nights a week. Other officers rotated through the nights and hated them. The boredom, the cold, the calls that came in at 3 a.m. Not Mercer. When a new chief once suggested spreading the overnight shifts around, Mercer smiled and said, "I don't mind. Somebody has to watch the road." Nobody argued. In a small department, a volunteer for the night shift isn't a red flag. He's a gift. So night after night, Dale Mercer pulled his patrol car onto Route 9, and he watched the headlights go by. Some nights he'd stop 1 or 2 cars. A broken taillight, a swerve, a driver going 7 over the limit. The stops were always polite, professional, calm. Warnings mostly. Mercer almost never wrote tickets. People remembered that about him. The people who made it home. Because here's what the town of Millbrook didn't know. Between the autumn of 2017 and the summer of 2018, a span of just 8 months, 3 drivers traveling on Route 9 after midnight simply vanished. No crashes, no bodies, no witnesses. And every single one of them was last seen on Dale Mercer's stretch of road. The first was Daniel Okafor, 26 years old, a medical equipment salesman out of Columbus. On October 3rd, 2017, Daniel left a trade show in Pittsburgh a little after 9 p.m. and pointed his silver Honda south. His GPS history later showed a simple route. Interstate, then Route 9, then home. At 11:47 p.m., he texted his wife, "Stopping for gas. Home by 1. Love you." He never made it. His Honda was found 2 days later, parked neatly on a gravel turnout about 9 miles north of Millbrook. And neatly is the word the first responding trooper used in his report. The car was locked. The keys were on the driver's seat. His wallet and phone were in the center console. There was no blood, no sign of a struggle, no tire marks suggesting another vehicle had forced him off the road. It looked less like a crime scene, and more like a man had simply stepped out of his life. The state police treated it as a missing person case. Maybe he walked into the woods, disoriented, maybe a medical event. Search dogs followed his scent 40 yards from the car and lost it at the edge of the road, as if he'd gotten into another vehicle. The second was Emily Van, 19, a sophomore at a community college 2 counties over, working nights at a 24-hour diner to pay for classes. On January 22, 2018, a Tuesday, she finished her shift at 11:30 p.m. and started the 40-minute drive home. Her roommate reported her missing the next morning. Emily's car was found the same day, this time parked behind an abandoned feed store off Route 9. Locked. Keys inside. Phone on the seat. Her purse, with $40 in cash still in the wallet, sat untouched on the passenger side. Nothing about it said robbery. Nothing about it said accident. It said what Daniel Okafor's car said. This person was taken by someone they trusted enough to stop for. But nobody said that out loud. Not yet. 2 counties, 2 different jurisdictions, 2 separate missing persons files, sitting on 2 separate desks. Nobody had put them side by side. And then, in May of 2018, came the third. Gerald Pike, 58. A long-haul trucker with 30 years on the road. A man who'd driven every highway in the eastern half of the country at every hour of the night. Gerald was not a man who scared easily. Friends said he'd slept in his cab and truck stops most people wouldn't walk through in daylight. On May 30th, Gerald's rig was found idling. Actually idling, engine running, door closed, in a rest area on Route 9, 12 miles south of Millbrook. His logbook was open. His coffee was still warm on the dash. Gerald was gone. 3 people, 3 vehicles, 3 neat, impossible scenes along one 30-mile stretch of highway, all within 8 months. And still, no one connected them, because there was one more detail in those files, a detail no investigator had thought to check. The nights Daniel, Emily, and Gerald disappeared, there had been a patrol officer working that stretch of Route 9. The same officer, every single time. In August of 2018, the Millbrook Police Department hired someone new. Officer Dana Reyes. 24 years old, fresh out of the academy, top of her class in report writing, which is the least glamorous skill in police work, and, it would turn out, the most dangerous one for Dale Mercer. Reyes was assigned to the overnight shift to learn the road. And since Dale Mercer practically owned the overnight shift, he became her training officer. For the first few weeks, she liked him. Everyone did. He was patient, calm. He knew every turnout, every abandoned building, every place on Route 9 where a driver could pull over and disappear from view. That last part stuck with her. Because Reyes noticed things. It started small. On certain nights, random nights, she thought at first, Mercer would suggest they split up. You take the north end, I'll take the south. It made sense for coverage. But it always seemed to happen on the quiet nights. The dead nights. The nights when the only cars on Route 9 were the ones that didn't belong to anyone local. Then there was the dash cam. Millbrook's patrol cars were old, and their cameras were older. They glitched. Everyone complained about it. But Reyes started to notice that Mercer's camera didn't glitch randomly. It failed on the nights they split up. It failed on the nights he made solo stops. She pulled the maintenance logs, because that was the kind of officer Dana Reyes was, and she found that in 9 years, Mercer's dashcam had been written up for malfunction 41 times. 41? The average for every other officer in the department was 4. Reyes didn't run to the chief. She knew how it would sound. A rookie, 3 months in, accusing the most liked man in the department of what exactly? Broken cameras and solo patrols? So she did what she'd been trained to do. She wrote things down. She started a private log. Dates. Times. Which nights Mercer split the patrol. which nights his camera failed. And then, because she was thorough, she drove to the county records office on her day off and pulled something nobody had ever thought to put next to that log. The dates that drivers had gone missing on Route 9. Daniel Okafor, October 3rd. Emily Van, January 22nd. Gerald Pike, May 30th. She laid her logbook next to the calendar, and she felt her stomach drop through the floor. Every missing driver matched a night Dale Mercer had split the patrol, and his dash cam had malfunctioned. Every single one. Reyes sat in her car outside the records office for a long time, because there was one more thing she couldn't stop thinking about, something Mercer had said her very first week, laughing, as they watched a pair of headlights pass them on Route 9 at 2 in the morning. Nobody out this late is going anywhere good. At the time, she'd laughed too. Then Reyes found the fourth car, and this one had a camera. Here's what Dana Reyes didn't know yet. She wasn't the first person to realize something was wrong with Dale Mercer. 6 months before she was hired, before Emily Van's car was found behind the feed store even, a man named Aaron Whitfield had walked into the county sheriff's office at 4 in the morning, shaking so hard he couldn't hold the pen they gave him. Aaron was 23. He'd been driving home from a friend's wedding, an hour and a half up Route 9, when patrol lights flashed behind him just south of Millbrook. The stop started like any other. License. Registration. The officer, tall, calm, polite, a name tag that read Mercer, asked where he was coming from, asked why he was out so late. And then, Aaron said, the questions changed. The officer asked him if anyone knew he was on this road tonight, asked if his phone was working, and then he told Aaron to step out of the car and to walk with him into the tree line. He said he needed to check something. Aaron's story could have ended there, but two things saved his life that night. The first was instinct, a cold, animal certainty, he said later, that if he walked into those trees, he was never coming back. The second was a pair of headlights, far off but coming. Aaron ran. He shoved past the officer, dove into his car, and floored it. In his mirrors, he said, the patrol car never moved. No pursuit. No lights. It just sat there in the dark, engine idling like it had all the time in the world. The sheriff's deputy who took the report that night didn't know what to make of it. A hysterical young man. 2 drinks at a wedding hours earlier. He'd blown well under the legal limit, but still, claiming a Millbrook officer had tried to lure him into the woods. The report was written. It was stamped. And it was forwarded to the Millbrook Police Department for internal review. It landed on one desk. Dale Mercer's. Because in a 5-man department, the senior overnight officer handled outside complaints. Mercer wrote a short, professional response. Officer denies the encounter. No dashcam footage available due to equipment malfunction. Recommend no further action. It was filed. And it was forgotten. Until Dana Reyes, doing what Dana Reyes did, pulled every complaint filed against the Millbrook department in 3 years and found Aaron Whitfield's name. She read his statement twice. Then she looked at the date it was filed and checked her logbook. That night, Mercer's dashcam had malfunctioned too. And then came the break that cracked the whole case open. Aaron's old sedan, the one he'd been driving that night, had been sold to his cousin months earlier. And his cousin, it turned out, had never removed the cheap little dash camera Aaron had stuck to the windshield. The camera was dead, but its memory card was still inside. And on it, 17 minutes of footage. A traffic stop, 2:24 a.m. A calm voice asking for license and registration. The card also held something Aaron never knew it had caught. Something that would end up in a courtroom. As he sped away, the camera, still rolling, had captured 4 seconds of the patrol car behind him. Its emergency lights were on. Its headlights were off. and it never moved. Dana Reyes did not take her logbook to the Millbrook chief. She took it, along with Aaron Whitfield's complaint, the maintenance records, and the recovered memory card, to the state police. The investigators who reviewed it didn't need much convincing. Within a week, they had GPS data from the 3 missing drivers' phones plotted against Millbrook's own patrol logs. Every disappearance sat inside Mercer's patrol window, on Mercer's stretch of road. On nights, his camera was broken. On October 19, 2018, state investigators and county deputies executed a search warrant on Dale Mercer's home while he slept after his shift. He didn't resist. He opened the door before they knocked, stood aside and said, and this is in the official report, "I've been wondering when you'd come." What they found in that house turned a missing persons case into one of the most disturbing discoveries in the state's history. In the garage, inside a locked tool cabinet, investigators found 31 traffic citation books. Real ones, Millbrook PD issue. And inside them, 31 handwritten tickets that had never been filed, never entered into any system, never reported. Each ticket had a name, a date, a time always between midnight and 4 a.m., a make and model of car. And paper-clipped to each one was a small Polaroid photograph. Most showed the driver through their own window, taken up close, the flash washing out their face. Nobody in any of the photos is smiling. A few of the drivers don't even appear to know the picture is being taken. Only 3 of the 31 names had ever been reported missing, which raised the question that nobody in that garage wanted to say out loud. Who are the other 28? The ticket books weren't the only thing in the cabinet. There was a box of personal items, a woman's watch, a college ring, a pair of sunglasses, a child's stuffed rabbit. And beneath the cabinet, investigators found fresh scratches in the concrete floor. When they brought in ground-penetrating radar, the scan showed 3 areas of disturbed soil. The search of Dale Mercer's property lasted 11 days. What they recovered there, and beneath an old barn on land his family owned up the highway, would eventually give 3 families their answers. Not the answers they wanted, but answers. Dale Mercer was charged, tried, and convicted. He never confessed in full. He never explained the tickets, the Polaroids, or the math, the terrible math of 31 names and only 3 found. He answered one question in his entire trial. Asked why he only worked nights, he looked at the prosecutor and said, "The road is different at night. People think someone is watching over them. The town of Millbrook doesn't talk about Dale Mercer anymore. The Little League team got a new coach. The overnight shift rotates now. Nobody is allowed to hold it alone. And on Route 9, the state installed lights at the rest area where Gerald Pike's rig was found idling. Locals will tell you it feels safer now. Maybe it is." Officer Dana Reyes left Millbrook 2 years later. She still works in law enforcement. In interviews, she always says the same thing. She wasn't a hero. She just wrote things down. But there's one detail from this case that never made it into any report. Remember the dash camera from the cold open? The one from the abandoned sedan? The one belonging to Michael Crane? The first name in the file? 17 minutes of footage, ending at 2:41 a.m.? Investigators never released the final 30 seconds. The official reason? Ongoing investigative value. But one trooper who watched it once, off the record, years later, said the footage doesn't end because the camera died. It ends because someone reached in through the driver's window and turned it off. Calmly, politely, professionally. And here's the part that should keep you up tonight. Dale Mercer was arrested in October of 2018. He's in prison right now, and he will never leave. But of the 31 names in those citation books, 25 have never been matched to any missing person, any body, or any living driver who came forward. 25 names, written in a policeman's careful handwriting, each one with a date, a time, and a photograph. Some of those tickets date back 11 years. The night shift was over, but case file number 2 was already open.